Hello everyone, this is Refresh, and I am here to bring you a battle between these two Dominaria Planeswalker decks and the Battle of the Horde challenge deck from Born of the Gods. We will be playing with 3 hero cards, the first one being the Harvester, which says tap, draw a card, then discard a card. The Vanquisher, which says your starting hand size is increased by 1, your maximum hand size is increased by 1. And the Explorer, which says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Because I only have 1 copy of each of these cards, we're going to play them as though they apply to both decks simultaneously. We'll start the game on normal difficulty with 3 turns before the Horde attacks. We'll draw 8 cards apiece and see what we get. Chandra gets a Forest, a Mountain, Baloth Gorger, Llanowar Elves, Gift of Growth, Mountain, Forest, and Pyromantic Pilgrim. I think this is a keepable hand. Teferi draws a Teferi Sentinel, Relic Runner, Plains, Niambi, Faithful Healer, Plains, Serra Angel, Spawning Construct, and Knight of Dominaria. This isn't great because we only have 2 lands, but we can play 2 of our cards with those 2 lands. Is that going to be enough? I'm not 100% certain, but I think that because we have the Harvester, we could draw into a solution from there, so we'll go ahead and keep this as well. For turn 1, we will play a Forest and a Mountain over here. We'll tap the Forest and play a Llanowar Elves, and then over here we will play both of the Plains, tapping them and playing a Knight of Dominaria. Then at the end of the turn we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Forest and will discard Gift of Growth. Teferi will draw a Meandering River and we will discard the Relic Runner. And then we'll untap. We'll draw. Chandra draws a Mountain. Teferi draws a Meandering River. We will play both Meandering Rivers tapped. And then we will play another Mountain and another Forest. And then we will tap 3 lands here and play a Pyromantic Pilgrim, which comes into the battlefield with haste. We will tap just 1 Plains here and we will play a Spawning Construct. And then we will attack with the Pyromantic Pilgrim and the Knight of Dominaria for 6 damage in turn 2. We'll mill 6 cards. 1 Refreshing Elixir. It says when Refreshing Elixir is put into a graveyard from anywhere, each player gains 5 life. We'll gain 10 life because we have 2 players to go up to 30. And then at the end of the turn we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Mountain and discard the Mountain. Teferi will draw a Spawning Construct and we will discard the Spawning Construct. Then we will untap and then we'll draw. Chandra draws a Fire Elemental, Teferi will draw a Plains, we'll play the Plains, and then we will play the Mountain and the Forest, and then we will attack with everything for 8 damage. There we go. And then for 5 mana, we will play the Fire Elemental, and for 5 mana here, we'll play the Serra Angel. And then we'll pass the turn to the Horde. The Horde will cast the top 3 spells. The first one being a Phobos Reaver. It has haste and Phobos Reaver attacks each turn if able. It is a 2/3. We have a Minotaur Goreseeker, which has the same abilities, but it is a 3/2. And we have a Minotaur Younghorn, which is the 2/2. They will all attack. And the Phobos Reaver will run into the Fire Elemental and perish. The Goreseeker will run into the Serra Angel and perish. But we will take 2 damage from the remaining Minotaur Younghorn and go down to 8. That is 28. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Mountain and promptly discard the Mountain. Teferi will draw a Joyous Familiar and will discard Joyous Familiar. And then we'll untap. And then we'll draw. Chandra draws a Mountain. We'll play the Mountain. Teferi draws a Befuddle. And then we will attack with the Pyromantic Pilgrim, the Fire Elemental, the Knight of Dominaria, the Spawning Construct, and the Serra Angel for 16 damage. Alright. We discarded 1 Plundered Statue, which says when Plundered Statue is put into a graveyard from anywhere, each player draws a card. So we will draw a card each. Chandra draws an Elfhame Druid, and Teferi will draw a Relic Runner. We will tap now everything for Chandra, and then play a Baloth Gorger tapped, which comes into the battlefield with 3/+1/+1 counters, making it a 7/7. And then Teferi will tap everything and play Teferi Sentinel, which is a 2/6. And then we will give the turn back to the Horde. The Horde will untap and cast the top 3 cards. The first one being a Touch of the Horn Guard. Whenever a Minotaur attacks this turn, it gains Death Touch until end of turn. Touch of the Horn Guard, the same thing again. And the final card is a Vitality Salve. At the beginning of the Hydra's pre-combat main phase, reveal an additional card from the top of the Horde's library. The Horde casts that card. So we'll face 4 cards next time, but it's just a death-touching Minotaur Younghorn this turn, which we'll just take and go to 6. At the end of the Horde's turn, we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Gilded Lotus and will discard the Elfhelm Druid. Teferi will draw a Plains and discard the Befuddle. We'll untap. We'll draw. Chandra draws a Mountains. Teferi draws a Island. We'll play the Island, and the Plains will play the Mountain. We'll tap 5 mana over here and play a Gilded Lotus. And then we'll attack with everything. That's 26 damage. Alright, that is 24 cards into the graveyard. We'll use the Massacre Totem, which causes another 7 to go in, but there's no more to go in. There's the Altar of Mogus, which causes the Horde to sacrifice 2 Minotaurs. There's only 1 to sacrifice. There's the Plunder Statue, which causes each player to draw a card. Chandra draws a Timber Gorge, and Teferi will draw an Aether Glider. And a Refreshing Elixir, which gets us 10 life apiece, taking us all the way up to 36. But it doesn't matter because there are no Minotaurs left and no library for the Horde, giving the Dominaria Planeswalker decks the win. We'll be right back for Game 2 on Hard Mode. It's time for Game 2 on Hard Mode. We will only have 2 turns before the Hydra attacks this time, so we'll go ahead and draw 8 each and see how we do. Chandra has a Baloth Gorger, Gaia's Protector, Crozen Druid, Gift of Growth, Timber Gorge, Mountain, Shivan Fire, and Chandra's Outburst. I kind of feel like we're a little landlight for a ramp deck, and we don't have any ramp pieces here either, so I don't think that this is actually a capable hand. We're going to go ahead and mulligan back to 8 because of the nature of multiplayer games, giving us 1 free mulligan. Alright, we have a Grund the Lonely King, Baloth Gorger, Chandra's Outburst, Mountain, Gaia's Protector, Fire Elemental, Pyromantic Pilgrim, and Shivan Fire. We have even less lands, and I would rather have 7 cards and have only a single mountain in a ramp deck. Alright, now we have a Crozen Druid, Forest, Chandra's Outburst, Mountain, Fiery Intervention, Pyromantic Pilgrim, and Marwyn the Nurturer. This is easily a much more capable hand, so we'll keep this, and we will put the Fiery Intervention back at the bottom of the library as part of the new London Mulligan rules. Teferi has an Aether Glider, Plains, Spine Construct, Island, Relic Runner, Divination, and Meandering River. I believe that this is a keepable hand, so we will do so, and then we will begin our first turn. Chandra will play a Mountain and a Forest. Teferi will play a Island and a Plains. We'll tap both and play a Relic Runner, and then we will also be done. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Fight with Fire, and we'll discard the Fight with Fire. Teferi will draw a Plains, and we'll discard the Meandering River. We will untap, and we will draw. Chandra draws a Chandra's Outburst. Teferi draws a Temporal Machinations. We will play both of the Plains over here, and we will play a Forest over here. We will tap these 3 and play Marwyn the Nurturer next, and then we will tap 3 mana and play an Aether Glider, and then tap another mana and play a Sparring Construct. We will attack with the Relic Runner for 2, dealing 2 damage and causing 2 cards to be milled. These 2 go into the graveyard, and we get 10 life from the Refreshing Elixir, taking us up to 30. And then we will go to the Horde's first turn. He will cast the top 3 cards. The first one being a Refreshing Elixir, which means that we will be facing 4 cards as if the next combat step. A Minotaur Goreseeker, a Minotaur Goreseeker, and then we will be attacked by both Minotaur Goreseekers. We will go ahead and take all of the damage and go back down to 24. And then at the end of the turn we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a mountain and discard one of the Chandra's outbursts. Teferi will draw an island and we will discard the temporal machinations. And then we will untap. And then we'll draw. Chandra will draw a primordial worm and Teferi will draw a meandering river. We will play the island and the meandering river tapped. And over here we'll play the mountain. Then we will cast divination over here, drawing us 2 cards, which includes 2 islands. We'll play one of the islands, and then we will attack with the Relic Runner, the Acer Glider, and Sparring Construct for 5. Alright, we have 2 artifacts. The first one saying that we draw a card each, so Chandra will draw a Elfheim Druid, and Teferi will draw a Sparring Construct. The second one saying that when Altar Mogus is put into the graveyard from anywhere, the Horde sacrifices 2 Minotaurs. We'll go ahead and sacrifice both of these. And then on the second main phase, we will play a second Sparring Construct, tap everything, and play an Elfheim Druid. When it enters the battlefield, Marwyn the Nurturer will get a counter from her ability, and then we will tap her and the other remaining 2 mana to cast a Pyromantic Pilgrim, which perhaps we should have done before, but we didn't know that the other Elfheim Druid would be coming. And then we will pass the turn to the Horde. The Horde will cast the top 4 cards. The first one being a Phobos Reaver, which is a 2/3. We have a Minotaur Younghorn as a 2/2, a Minotaur Younghorn as a 2/2, and a Minotaur Younghorn as a 2/2. They will all come in on the attack, and we are just going to take it on the chin, dealing us 8 damage, taking us to 16. And then we will use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a mountain and discard the mountain. Teferi will draw a plains and discard the island. And then we will untap. We'll draw. Chandra draws a Baloth Gorger. Teferi draws a Knight of New Benalia. We'll play the plains. We'll tap both things here and play a Knight of New Benalia. We will attack with the Relic Runner, the Acer Glider, the Pyromantic Pilgrim for 7 damage. We hit the Massacre Totem, which says that we will put 7 more cards from the library into the graveyard. And then on the second main phase, we will tap out here, using the Kicker here to cast a Baloth Gorger with Kicker, making it a 7/7. And then we will pass the turn to the Horde. The Horde will untap. And then we'll cast the top 4 cards, the first one being a Minotaur Younghorn, the second one being a Phobos Reaver, the third one being a Mogus Chosen, which comes to the battlefield tapped, and the fourth one being a Descend Upon the Prey. Whenever a Minotaur attacks this turn, it gains first strike until end of turn and must be blocked this turn if able. Alright, so we're going to be attacked by 4 Minotaur Younghorns and 2 Phobos Reavers. They will have first strike. We will block one of the Phobos Reavers with a Baloth Gorger. So down with 1 Phobos Reaver, and the other Phobos Reaver will be triple blocked by these 3, and it will kill both of the Sparring Constructs, which will cause 2 +1/+1 counters to be put on Teferi's creatures. We'll just put them both on the Relic Runner, making it a 4/3, and then the Knight of New Benalia will counterattack and finish off the last Phobos Reaver. We will take 8 damage from the remaining Minotaur Younghorns to go down to 8 life. And then we'll pass the turn. We won't use the Harvester this time because there are no cards here. We will untap. We'll draw. Chandra draws a Forest, and Teferi will draw a Plains. We will play the Forest, and then we will attack with the Acer Glider, the Knight of New Benalia, the Pyromantic Pilgrim for 8 damage. And then we will tap everything here for 9 mana to cast the Krosan Druid with Kicker, which says when Krosan Druid enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, you gain 10 life. So we'll gain 10 life to go back up to 18. And then we will pass the turn to the Horde. The Horde will untap, and we'll cast the top 4 cards, the first one being a Minotaur Younghorn, the second one being a Plundered Statue, the third one being a Intervention of Kuranos. At the beginning of combat this turn, Intervention deals 3 damage to each creature. It's going to kill a lot of our creatures. And then the final one being a Phobos Reaver. It's the beginning of combat, and each creature is going to take 3 damage. That will kill the Krosan Druid, the Pyromantic Pilgrim, the Marwyn the Nurturer, the Elfheim Druid. It'll also kill the Acer Glider and the Knight of Dominaria. It'll also kill all of these Minotaurs and leave the Baloth Gorger with 4 health remaining and the Relic Runner with 1 health remaining. The Minotaur Mogus Chosen is going to go on the attack, and we're going to choose not to block it. Go ahead and take 5 damage to go down to 13. And then we'll go to our turn. We'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Baloth Gorger and will discard Chandra's Outburst. And then Teferi will draw a Teferi Sentinel and discard the Plains. We will untap. We'll draw. Chandra will draw a Gift of Growth. Teferi will draw a Gideon's Reproach. We will go ahead and attack with the Baloth Gorger and the Relic Runner for 11 damage. We have 1 Vitality Salve here. It says when Vitality Salve is put into a graveyard from anywhere, each player returns a creature card from his or her graveyard to the battlefield. Over here, we will return the Elfheim Druid. Over here, we'll return the Knight of New Benalia. And then on our second main phase, we will spend 5 mana and play a Teferi Sentinel, and we cannot cast the Primordial Worm, nor can we cast the Baloth Gorger Kick, so we're going to hold off for 1 moment with those 2, and then we will pass to the Horde. The Horde will untap and cast the top 5 cards, which are a Phobos Reaver, a Reckless Minotaur, a Unquenchable Fury. It says that each Minotaur cannot be blocked this turn except by 2 or more creatures, a Minotaur Younghorn, and a Minotaur Younghorn. All the creatures are going to come in on the attack. We must block with 2 or more creatures in each instance, but on the attack, we'll just go ahead and tap both of these and cast Gideon's Reproach on the Minotaur Mogus Chosen, which will kill that. And then we have 3 creatures to block those creatures. We'll go ahead and block with Teferi Sentinel and the Knight of New Benalia up against the Phobos Reaver, which will kill it, and then deal 2 damage to the Knight of New Benalia, killing it as well. And then we will take 8 damage to go down to 5, but the Reckless Minotaur will die at the end of the turn as well. And then we will go to our turn. We do not have any reason to attack anymore, so we'll just untap everything. And then we will draw. Chandra draws a Mountain, and Teferi will draw a Zahid Djinn of the Lamp. And we will play the Mountain, and then we will tap everything out here and play a Baloth Gorger Kicked, making it a 7/7. And over here, we'll go ahead and tap out as well to cast Zahid. That makes our team in a pretty good place. We'll go to the Horde's turn, which will untap its 2 Minotaurs, and then they will attack. They'll both run into the Baloth Gorgers and perish, and the Dominaria Planeswalker decks will win the day. Let me know what you thought about the game in the comments below. If I made any errors in terms of rules and or gameplay errors, let me know, and I will strive to be better in the future. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more such videos, hit subscribe. Next time, I'll be putting these 2 Dominaria Planeswalker decks up against the Defeat a God Challenge deck from Journey to Nyx. Until then, this is Refresh, and thanks for watching.